Everybody needs to light up their Minecraft worlds. I mean, no one likes to be in a world of darkness surrounded by creepers, but no one likes to see torch spam, even if it is fancy blue torches. No one likes to see stuff like this in your lawn. So, 20 lamps that you can build in your Minecraft survival world. For our first lamp, we have this lamp made out of lanterns and shroomlight for the light sources, and wood and stone for the rest. So, you see we have this kind of gradually decreasing thickness until it reaches a minimum where it goes back up into a thicker point where all of the chains come down. A very simple little design, and obviously if you don't like it, you don't need to have all 4 of these, and in fact it looks just fine with just the one. If you don't like the shroomlight, you can replace it with stone, since the lanterns are what are the predominant source of light. For our second light source, it obviously gives off a lot less light than our first one, but it's a spin on the old lava light of the past. It takes these deep slate tile bottom going up into deep slate brick for our actual light bulb, you could call it. And this could look really cool next to the entrance to an evil castle, or even just a regular castle if you'd want to lighten up the blocks palette to just regular stone bricks. Our next light is a super simple design that just utilizes wood and any stone block that can be turned into a wall. Obviously it doesn't have to be deep slate bricks, but it's my favorite wall block, so I use deep slate brick. Obviously the light source is just a lantern, and it's a very simple design. Obviously it uses the same philosophy of the thick bottom going up to the thinner top part, and then drapes down a lantern attached to a chain. For our third light source, it's a lot more magical inspired, let's say. It uses the end rods for the light source, which means that anything can really be built up here, but what I did was I made a diamond block surrounded by these deep slate brick walls, kind of inspired by a blaze, so it looks like almost like a spell creating the light source, even though in reality it is just the end rod. Number 4 is this simple old light source design that can only be built once per server or world, so it is very expensive. Obviously it uses the dragon egg, and any light here, or any block here, can be placed to mimic a lampshade, but I thought an iron block works well, although quartz pillar works stellarly as well. But you may have noticed that it isn't giving off light. You can put a sea lantern up here, but personally, when I like to put down this light, I just hide my light sources in the floor with carpets, and this works excellently in the new 1.17 update since you can use moss for your carpet. And if you know me, you know I love putting moss everywhere in my base. Now our 6th light is again using that philosophy of starting off thick and going up to thin, but the restoration to thickness towards the light bulb is used by 1 block of a hopper, and on top I put a polished blackstone pressure plate, now that's a mouthful, to complete the look. And it's super simple, but super effective at lighting up your world. Number 7 is these classic plant box light sources, which obviously you can't see the light source unless you jump up here to reveal that there's glowstone underneath your leaves. This light source makes excellent use of outdoor spaces, so if you want to build a park, these are perfect ways to light up your park without trying to shove too many man-made builds inside of it. Number 8 is powered by 2 lanterns, and it's very heavily expensive on the iron, but it uses an anvil and these 2 hoppers to drape down these lanterns. And it's super simple for the build itself, but obviously very expensive if you want to copy it exactly. Obviously the hoppers can be replaced with chains, and the anvil can be replaced as well. Now this next one is a lot more useful when you're building big builds, and a lot more when you're building more natural builds. Now you may know me and from a couple of my SMPs. I love this pillar design of the trapdoor, button, and then stripped spruce log or stripped dark oak log, depending on which one's more readily available. But it's a way bigger design than anything else here, but it works excellently in any sort of log cabin situation, or like a campground. For our 10th design, we have a tiki torch that takes advantage of the campfire's smoke effect to make it look more like a tiki torch. It again uses the same philosophy of going upward and getting thinner, but here we use this brick bottom to look like a base station for the tiki torch to come out of, and it uses the sign to hold up the campfire and attach it to the rest. Obviously the spruce trapdoors cover up the fact that it is a campfire and not a proper fire, but it does look just like a tiki torch. Onto our 11th light. This is a super simple but really fancy looking candle. It uses the lightning rod, upside down of course, to look like a candle stand, and it doesn't give off a lot of light, but if you want to, you can just like add more candles and that'll increase the light, but it does look a lot more awkward. So this is not as much a light source as it is a decoration. For our 12th light, it's obviously a lot more 2012 Minecraft look, but it does incorporate some more advanced techniques, such as making this look like it's swooping to drop down this lantern, and you can add chains to add variation to the lamps. And what I like about this is that it also acts as a signpost to tell you where things are in your world, but in this world there are just lights and more lights. So on to our next one. This one uses a shroom light, which I think is an underappreciated light source, but it once again starts thick, thins out, and thickens up for the actual light bulb. It uses some glass and some polished deep slate wall to surround it, but also make it look a little bit more circular. On to our 14th and most complicated design. We're using 4 armor stands to prop up this soul lantern here. I can see this working very well if you repeat it over and over again on like a walk up to a castle or any big dramatic build for that matter. But you may wonder how to build this thing. Well, first you need to set up something like this. If you want to stack multiple armor stands on top of each other, you're just going to want to do something like that. And you're going to want to do that 4 times for each direction. And then you take an anvil, break that block, and it'll fall off. And then you take a piston with this wall, and you can push it in. And there you go. That's the base for this light. It's a lot more complicated than any other light in this video, but I think it's a lot more fancy than anyone. And it's also probably the most expensive, using 20 diamonds right there and an anvil. So if you really want to show off your wealth, ooh, weird. If you really want to show off your wealth, this really is the light source for you. On to our next one. It once again takes heavy advantage of anvils and hoppers to make this shape that then just drops these lanterns into place like this. And I think these could work really well in a city, especially if you only build one side of it, like that, and set it along a road. But if you're like me, I like my symmetry, so I build it in the whole way just like this, and just to make this look a little bit more connected, I put a carpet on top of both these stairs. For our next light, it looks more like an indoor light, and it takes advantage of a sea lantern to create the light, and once again armor stands. So if you need to know how to do this one, you're going to want to put an armor stand facing diagonally on your hat slab, and then you're going to want to put another one above it, and simply break that hat slab above, and then once you have that set up, just going to push the lantern back down like that, and you have almost a stand for your sea lantern. And now for our 16th light, I just decided to put something a little bit more magical. It's a lot more unorthodox, but I can see this working great around an enchanting area or any magical feeling area. Obviously it's very big and bulky, but it takes advantage of the sea lantern to light up the area, and it uses the crimson and warped wood to make these swoops around it, almost looking like enchanting particles. And it's on this deep slate, polished deep slate and chiseled deep slate, and also deep slate brick wall stand. And I can see this going great around an enchanting room if you need an application for it. Onward to our next light. This one is obviously a little bit weirder. It uses banners to cover up the fact that this redstone lamp is the light source, but it uses a daylight sensor to make sure that it's only emitting light when it is night. So if you right click the daylight sensor, it'll obviously switch, and it is again very expensive using anvils, but some of the nicest lights do use anvils. And if you really wanted to simplify the design, you can always drop this bottom wood piece. Onward to our second to last light. This one uses pistons to look like it's holding the sea lantern in place using these wood bases, and the secret is of course the redstone block inside the spruce wood stairs surrounding to make a base. And this could look very good as supports in a house, in like a bigger room that light up the area. Now for our last light, it is the most expensive by far, being the beacon for the light source, and it uses this glass to hold it up, and it could work as a water elevator into a base as well. But I can see this working very well if you spam it outside, and obviously if you are a bit more poor and can't afford tons of beacons, which I'm sure most people building lights cannot, you can always replace it with something like a shroom light. And the last bonus light source. Some people don't want to see their light sources around, and that's totally okay. Just do something simple like this in your lawn, especially if you're already scattering stuff like green wool and moss in your lawn anyway, which is a great way of making your lawn look a little bit more fancy, and green concrete powder as well. You can scatter it like this and produce light without it even being easily seen. So use this tip very wisely. This one's so useful because not everyone wants to have lights in their lawn. And that will do it for our 20 lights. And I think that I've covered a lot of bases for different situations what you might need to light up. But if you do have any more designs, be sure to share them as well, because so many people are looking for ways to light up their area, and torch spam is just not ideal. So try to come up with fancy ways of lighting your base, and don't succumb to the torch spam. You don't want a torch spam. But if any one of these light sources helped you in your build, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. So if you enjoyed, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!